Hey, friends, welcome to another episode of Not Your Mama's podcast. This is episode number 21, and it's voicing what you want out of a partner. In this episode, we are speaking with dating and confidence coach Alyx Dodge about three key elements to a healthy and effective relationship based on strong communication. Alyx is the founder of To Flirty, which is a dating site that helps men build confidence and social skills while giving them a glimpse into dating from a woman's perspective. Alyx, it's such an honor to have you on the show again. Can you please tell
Thank
the
you so much for
audience?
having me.
Yes, can you please tell the audience a little bit about your background for if this is the first time they are hearing from you?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much again for inviting me back. I had such a great time the first time. Basically what Nerdy to Flirty is the idea is that I feel like so many men are looking for love. They're frustrated in dating just like women are, and they just need some guidance. So the idea is to help guys go from feeling nerdy to feeling flirty. I mean, the name is just like a cutesy thing, but the idea is that, if you have something in your nose or something in your teeth and nobody tells you, you can't fix it. So it's awkward to have to tell someone what they need to fix, but then once they fix it, then they get to, feel more confident afterwards. So it's kind of like that when it comes to dating. If guys are saying things that may be coming across offensive, doing things that are not being taken the way they want them to be, and it's turning women off, that's not going to help them. So if somebody's there to say like, hey, I know you meant to have this come across differently, it came across a little creepy, then they can actually fix it and then find love. So the idea is just give men a helping hand. It's great for women too, because then we're less frustrated if men know what they're doing. So that's kind of the idea of Nerdy to Flirty.
Awesome. So in today's topics, what are the elements that we need to have strong, effective communication with our partners? Can you walk us through that?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest one is feeling safe with a partner, open and effective communication. And I think it's both people being willing to work through the tough stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think another really important thing is knowing what you want out of a relationship. That's applicable to any part of the relationship in the, emotional intimacy side and the physical intimacy side. If you don't know what you want, then you can't ask for it. So it's knowing what you want, being able to communicate that effectively, and being in a safe, non-judgmental relationship. So for example, let's say, you for sure want to get married and have kids. If you're going on dates and you're not able to effectively communicate that, you could wind up dating someone who's a perfectly lovely person, but they're just not the right person for you. And then a few months in, you realize you're not on the same page. So knowing what you want is going to be an amazing filter to filter people into your dating life that you want to, keep dating. And it's going to filter people out that don't, fit what you're looking for.
So
Does that
how do
answer
you
your
help
question?
people? Yeah, no, totally makes sense. But how do you help people filter out what they want? What's a good strategy for people to sit down and do? Is it like sitting down, writing pros and cons? Tell us a little bit more of how people
Absolutely.
can figure that out.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of people have a good idea, and this is applicable to all genders. We have a good idea of what we want and how we want to feel in a relationship. We don't actually know what that looks like in another person. So I think one of the best pieces of advice I can give to anybody out there, even if you're in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
single, dating, relationship, married, is what do you want out of life? What do you want out of a partner? How do you want to feel around them? How do you want to make them feel? What kind of, lifestyle do you want to lead? What kind of things do you want to do together? What are your 5-year goals? Like, for example, I'm not really a kids person. I think kids are great, but I don't want them for myself. So it was
Mm-hmm.
very hard in the dating scene because I'd meet some like great guys, but then I had to make sure to kind of rip off that band-aid in the first few dates and say, by the way, like, what is your vision for the future? What do you see for yourself? Do you see family and kids? Do you see yourself, being a lifelong bachelor, whatever? So I would say having a crystal clear picture in your mind of what you're looking for is huge, but also putting that vision from your mind into pen and paper. It could be an Excel spreadsheet. It could be a written out piece of paper. It could be some kind of a journaling thing. It could be a vision board. But if you don't know what you're looking for, you'll date anybody. Do you know what I'm saying? If you know
Yeah.
more what you're looking for, you can filter those things out. So another great one is, what kind of lifestyle do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like picture a Sunday? Do you want to sleep in? Do you want to wake up early? Do you want to, ease into the day and have coffee outside? Do you want to go on a morning hike? Those are the kind of things where if you envision doing that with a partner, are you on the same page? Is your partner waking up at 6 a.m. trying to go on hikes and trying to go do all these things. And you're like, I would love to just relax on a Sunday. But then maybe you don't know until, you're dating for a little while, like, oh my gosh, we're not on the same page. Or like vacations. Are you an adventure person or a relaxing person? So to sum it up, I think the best thing to do for dating to filter people either in or out of your vision is knowing what your vision is.
Yeah. And so I know we were talking like before we started recording, and how do you make people feel comfortable like voicing what they want, like, let's say in the bedroom? Because, it's a little sensitive topic. Some people aren't very like boisterous when it comes to being like, oh, I like it like this, or I like it like that. Like, what are some things people can do to like get the confidence to talk about what they want sexually?
Absolutely. So I think the number one thing, like I said, to relationships in general and to what you want in the bedroom is figuring out what you like. I think a great thing to do if you are someone who enjoys like visual stimulation, all that kind of stuff like porn, I would say actually take a little break from that, because I feel like sometimes people's fantasies come from porn as opposed to their imagination. It's like, well, I've seen this. This is what we're supposed to do. This is what we're supposed to like. So I would say figuring out what you like, do a little self-discovery, use your imagination.
On yourself first.
Amen. Maybe use, porn as a little bit of an inspiration as well, but figure out what you like. And then, to be honest, like it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. It takes courage to say what you like. So if you feel embarrassed, I think that's another thing is, I heard a great quote. I don't know exactly who it was. I'd love to give them credit, but it's, guilt is feeling bad about something you've done. Shame is feeling bad about who you are. So if you feel like the things that you like sexually are shameful, maybe undo that, talk to actual like sex therapist, something like that, figure out why you have that feeling. But if you're consenting and people are on board, most people are up for it. And if they're not, you can, in a very non-judgmental way, say, you know what, that sounds great. I'm not super comfortable with that. Maybe we can ease into that. But I would say you have to know what you want. And then to effectively communicate it, you have to just give yourself the girl power to say, this is kind of how I like it. And I think the other thing is, if you're with a partner who is not open and receptive and makes you feel safe, you should not be having sex with them. One of the biggest rules for the bedroom for myself is if I don't even have the confidence to feel safe enough to tell you what I do and do not like, if I don't like a certain position, if you're doing something that I'm calling like a stop on, if I don't feel like I have the voice to say that, we're not having sex, period. If I'm not going to have a good time, why am I there? This isn't a charity. This isn't a service I'm providing. I want to have fun too. So if you're not mutually having fun, you should not be there. So you need to know what you want, be with a partner that you can say what you're looking for. And then I think the most important part is having it be light and fun and not judgmental. So just as you want to be able to tell your partner, I like it this way, I don't like it that way, I like it when you do this. If they're being vulnerable and sharing what they like, if it's not something you've done before, you can be honest and say, you know what, I'm not super comfortable with that. I've never tried it before, but I feel comfortable with you. Maybe we could try it together. Or, that's kind of a boundary that I don't want to cross. Is there something else we could try? But I think it's important to not judge your partner in the same way you want to be judged. And maybe you find out you're just not sexually compatible, but you can come to that conclusion in a very adult, respectful, judgment-free way. But I think if you can't tell your partner what you do and do not like, if you don't feel safe enough with them, you should not be naked. You should not be, intertwining your bodies and being in that presence together. I think that's a big no-no.
Yeah. I mean, because you're so vulnerable. I think it's such a vulnerable thing to be doing, seeing all of you and within you. So, I mean, yeah.
I was talking with some of my girlfriends the other day, and I think like to be comfortable enough to even have an orgasm means a big thing. Like a lot of women don't orgasm with a man because we either aren't comfortable enough and it takes stimulation differently we're doing, it takes time, or we're just like in our heads and we're nervous. So I think a lot of women like fake it to get it to be hurried up. And I think that sucks for both people, because it sucks for the guy because he thinks he's a stud. He's like, I've made a woman come every time I've had sex. I'm like, that's probably not true.
Yeah.
I think it's better for everybody when we can all feel safe and comfortable to talk about what we like. And if a guy says like, hey, did you come? You can say, you know what, to be honest, I didn't, it felt really good, but I need this. And maybe next time I'll be a bit more relaxed, and being able to say that to somebody, because again, we're not performing charity. We're not there to just, lie there and wait for them to be done. If you're not both having fun, they're basically using your body to masturbate, if that makes sense. Sorry if that's a little too out there, but if you're both not enjoying it and having a good time, it's basically masturbating, and why are you even there? Sometimes it's a little bit more complicated to make sure that you both have fun. Maybe he's doing everything that you're asking him to, and you're still not able to. The stimulation's, different, whatever. Maybe you need to add tools. Maybe it just takes more time. But if you are effectively communicating that stuff, then it's great for everybody.
Yeah. And I know we talked briefly about it in our last episode. Like, how do you feel that like this porn culture has like affected relationships in general?
So I think that porn can be, sorry about that, can be a fun additive. It can add inspiration. It can add, an air of mystery. But I think if you look at it from the sense of this is entertainment, it's like if you watch an action movie, you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I just watched Jason Statham beat up 10 guys. I saw that. Now I can go do that. And I think that's what a lot of people do. They're like, I'm going to be crass, so forewarning.
It's fine, no worries.
You'll see a guy like fingering a woman for 30 seconds. He's just going like this. And then she's just like, ah, and she's like having her orgasm. That's just not what happens.
Yeah.
So I feel
like that's a little annoying.
Right. And I feel like it's embarrassing as women to be like, hey, that's not what I like. But I think we have to kind of give ourselves the courage to say, hey, that feels good, but what if we try it this way? But I think it also makes
a little bit.
Slow it down. But it also
slow it down. Stop jackhammering me.
It also requires the other person being willing to listen. So like let me put it in our shoes, okay? Like, or for the man's perspective. Let's say I'm trying to give a blowjob, and I'm giving a blowjob based on how I've seen it in porn. And I'm not actually doing it right. It is so embarrassing for me if the guy's like, hey, could you actually try it a different way? But to be honest, I would rather it be so uncomfortable. They tell me what they like. I can change it. And then we're doing it like easier. I'm not going to feel super great about myself. I'm like, damn it, I'm really bad at this. Yeah. But like I said, the whole point is for you to both have a really good time. So like if a guy's going down on a girl and he's doing something that he saw online, or, it's just not going the way that it should be, it takes balls for the woman to say, hey, could you try this? And it takes balls for the guy to say, oh, sure, let me try it, and not be like, oh, you're wrong. All the women I've done this to have loved this. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think as a culture, porn can be fine, but real life is so much better. It's more awkward. It's more bumpy. Sometimes when you're changing positions, you get like need, or when you're having sex, like the penis slips out and you have to put it back in. It's not as glamorous, but it's real life. You know what I mean? That's like the fun is discovering it together and feeling safe and comfortable together enough to have fun. And having an orgasm is literally one of the most vulnerable things you could do. Yeah. You're like fully out of control. You have to fully be out of your mind.
You're doing the O face, Doing
the O face. I talked with one of my girlfriends about how from porn, women, I feel like, are trained to have like really sexy sex faces, like, and like doing sexy positions. Men don't necessarily have to do that. So I think a lot of men's sex faces are very genuine, but they look hideous. They're like, oh, or they're not cute. But I feel like because men get to be themselves in the bedroom and less in their heads, they get to have a better time. So I think it's going to be great when women get to start just being themselves and enjoying it and having a good time.
Yeah. Well, I know I've always heard that like men are more visual,
For sure. But that also sucks for women. Women are visual. Like we want to be seduced and turned on, and we want to have a good time, and we want to have an orgasm, and all of that stuff. And I think as a culture, we're getting away from, it's all about men and we're just there to be a vessel for them to have a good time. And it's more mutual now, but it takes both people speaking up for themselves and being receptive with the communication to have a really good time.
Totally. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, today, and I feel like, what's your like policy on like how long should someone wait to be intimate with someone?
Right. For sure. So I know there's like some people that are, very strict. They have a very strict 2-date rule or no sex until monogamy or whatever. My rule of thumb is whenever you feel comfortable enough to talk about it, then you and the other person decide what page you're on. If on the first date you have so much sexual chemistry and you really like each other, and then you guys kiss and the kissing leads to, heavy petting, and that leads to maybe let's go back to my place, so be it. If you want to wait till marriage, so be it. But I think that if you are being dishonest about your intentions to sleep with the other person, that's a huge no-no. I do believe in dating karma. So as a guy, if you're looking to just hook up, say it. You'll find the women that are just looking to hook up.
Yeah.
But I would say as long as you are feeling safe, everybody's consenting, you're on the same page, you can have sex as quickly or as slowly as you would like.
Yeah. I definitely feel that we live in like a hookup culture, especially with all these dating apps like Tinder and I don't know what else, Plenty of Fish. It's been so long, I'm married now with kids, so I don't even know what's going on in the dating scene. Things can change so fast, but but yeah, we definitely have hookup culture, like 100%.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. And I think a lot of it, like we talked about, has to do with like porn and expectations. And we live in this fast-paced world. Technology has really like brought us forward. The children are even learning things at such a young age because of the access of information that they have. So
for sure.
Yeah. And I even think kids are starting to hook up even younger and younger,
Right. Right. And I think
it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah. So circling back to like the hookup culture, I think one of the important things about dating is, I consider myself a very sex positive person. If you are just looking to have some sex, if you are looking to just hook up, as long as you're being safe, everybody is consenting and you're on the same page, do what you want to do.
Yeah.
However, if you are more relationship minded, I think if you say you're definitely looking for a commitment, if the other person says the same thing, if you have sex fast, but you have relationship goals together, then I think that's fine too. If you want to wait a little bit, take, physical intimacy off the table, that's fine too. I just feel like sometimes when people remove physical intimacy, that is kind of a big part of a relationship. Mm-hmm. So like you could, let's say somebody's like, oh, no sex for the first 2 months of dating, whatever. That's an arbitrary number, but that's what they decide.
Yeah.
If they've been dating for 2 months and they're, having so much fun together and all this kind of stuff, sometimes if you're not acting on it, the chemistry can kind of fizzle a little bit. You kind of friend zone each other. You're like, this person's great, but I'm not feeling this like animalistic attraction. Or let's say the animal attraction is totally there, but then you finally go to have sex and you've put so much pressure on this, there's been so much buildup, it isn't what you thought it would be. Or he has too much, pressure on him. He can't get an erection, or he can't, perform, or she has too much. Like, I feel like when you make it such a big deal, it becomes a big deal.
Yeah.
In my mind, again, this is not the only way. It's just my personal way of thinking.
Yeah.
Is sex is just a piece of the relationship pie. Mm-hmm. But if you remove that, it becomes an issue. If you're not having sex or you put too much pressure on sex, it becomes a problem. But like, in my mind, the ideal relationship is sex just happens naturally. And if it's not happening as often as you would like, you communicate about that.
Yeah.
If, it's happening too much, you need a bit of a break, you communicate about that. But I think sex is just a normal part of life and a relationship. There is no too fast and there is no too long, as long as the two people are on the same page.
Yeah. Kind of like a little off topic, but on topic. What are your thoughts like if someone always wants like the lights off or, lights on?
Sure.
Like, is that have like, what about that? Like, if you don't feel comfortable having the lights on with your partner, what does that say? Like, what are your thoughts on that? It just came to me.
For sure. So I think, most of the time, if somebody wants the lights off, it may be because they're a little bit uncomfortable with their body, or they're uncomfortable with, like, if I'm being contorted in a certain position, maybe I'm not going to look good. So I think it may stem, not always, but it may stem from a place of insecurity. So I think if you try to force that, if you try to push it, and when one of the partners is like, no, I need the lights on. So let's say, for example, it's a guy. Men have physical insecurities as well. Yeah. Let's say he wants the lights off and she's like, no, I want to see you. I want to, and then if you push the other person too fast, you're not really respecting that boundary. That's going to be disastrous. Yeah. You can, through effective communication and showing the other person you're a safe person, maybe say, okay, if we can't have the lights on, what about like a light in a different room? So it's a little bit of light. We can work our way up, and you're giving them, positive affirmations. You're saying, wow, you look so gorgeous. And you're helping, like, you can't make somebody else confident. That is a personal job, but you can make their journey easier by not critiquing them, by building them up, by giving them positive, assurance. But I would say if one person is like adamant about lights off, it's probably an insecurity thing. So hopefully over time you can work your way out of that and feel more comfortable. But I would say if you're really a lights on person, communicate that to your partner. Build up baby steps on how to get there. If they're adamant that they're always going to be a lights off person, you may just not be sexually compatible. But I would say communication and non-judgment, you'll find whatever the solution is for you.
Yeah, no, that's all great advice. I love it, Alyx. So before we end things today, is there any last thing you want to say about the elements of communication? I know we talked about a partner you feel safe with and they're safe with you. You want to have non-judgment between the partners, and of course, open communication. So what are some last words that you would like to say?
I'd say the last words I'd like to leave with is, I think everybody is a little bit insecure. Everybody has shit on their plate. So I would say try your best to be kind and caring and an effective listener as well as an effective communicator. Try your best to not judge other people and judge yourself a little bit less. And not only will dating be easier, but life will be a little bit easier. So just extend some grace to the people in your lives and yourself, and sex, work, life, dating will all be a little bit easier if you have a more positive mindset.
Awesome. That is such great advice. Well, Alyx, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm going to have all of Alyx's information below, so you can get in contact with her if you want to talk to her more about this subject. If you want to go from nerdy to flirty, she is your girl. She'll be able to help you. And thank you so much again. And don't forget to check out her other episode where we talk about dating, basically.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I always have such a good time, and hopefully I'll be back in the future with a different topic, but this is always so fun. I think these are really important conversations to have.
Of course. I agree with you. Okay. Thank you so much, Alyx.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.